Right now, a series of videos out of American airports is going viral across Europe, and they are leaving travelers shocked. We are talking about tourists, students, and even visa holders from countries like Germany, the United Kingdom, Denmark, and Finland being pulled aside, questioned for hours, and in some cases detained for days or even weeks. These are not undocumented migrants sneaking across a border. These are people who flew in with valid passports, visas, or travel authorizations. So what exactly is happening at these checkpoints, and could it happen to you on your next trip? If you are interested in this topic and liking this video, please stay tuned until end of the video. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now let's get into the video. In a recent development, several European governments have updated their travel advisories for citizens visiting the United States. This is not a small gesture. When a country changes its official travel guidance, it usually means its own citizens have run into serious, unexpected trouble. Germany was among the first to act, revising its advisory after at least 3 German citizens were denied entry and detained upon arrival. The United Kingdom followed after multiple British citizens reported similar experiences. Denmark and Finland made their own updates soon after. According to sources, these decisions came directly in response to a pattern of detentions at ports of entry, not isolated one-off cases. Here's what you need to know about how this usually unfolds. Travelers arrive at a U.S. airport or land border crossing, present their documents, and instead of the routine few minutes at Customs and Border Protection, known as CBP, they are pulled into secondary inspection. From there, some are questioned for hours. Others are handcuffed, held in detention facilities, and left waiting days or even weeks before being allowed to fly home, often at their own expense. One widely reported case involved a German tourist named Lukas Seeloff, who had been visiting his American fiancée in Las Vegas. After a short trip across the border to Mexico, he was stopped on his way back into the United States. Immigration officials accused him of violating the terms of his 90-day tourist permit, even though he was only 22 days into his stay. He was held for 16 days before being permitted to fly home to Germany. His fiancée described the experience as a blatant abuse of Border Patrol's power. In a separate case, a backpacker from Wales was detained for close to 3 weeks before being allowed to leave. But what does this mean for the average traveler who has never had a visa issue in their life? That is the real question, and it is the one driving so many of these videos to go viral. Immigration attorneys note that CBP officers have broad discretionary power at ports of entry. This means an officer can deny entry, revoke a visa on the spot, or place a traveler into expedited removal proceedings, often without a clear explanation given at the time. Reports suggest that travelers detained under these circumstances frequently say they were never told exactly why they were being held. Legal analysts suggest this discretion is technically nothing new, but what makes this case different is how visibly and how often it is now being applied to travelers from close U.S. allies, people who never expected to be affected. The following categories appear to be facing the most scrutiny right now. Tourists traveling on the Visa Waiver Program, using what is known as ESTA, are seeing more secondary inspections than in previous years. Visa holders who have taken short trips across the Mexican or Canadian border and are re-entering the U.S. are being flagged for questioning about the exact terms of their stay. International students and academics have also been swept into this pattern, with universities now warning faculty and students to think carefully before traveling abroad during the school year, since re-entry is not guaranteed even with valid documentation. And in a handful of cases that have gone especially viral, individuals who overstayed a visa years or even more than a decade ago have been detained in dramatic airport scenes, with agents in plain clothes making arrests in front of stunned onlookers recording on their phones. One such video came out of San Francisco International Airport, where agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, were seen detaining a woman inside the terminal as bystanders shouted for the agents to stop. The Department of Homeland Security later confirmed that ICE has been deploying agents to assist Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, operations at some airports around the country. This detail matters because it shows a shift. Enforcement is no longer limited to the border. It is now visibly present inside domestic terminals, in front of ordinary travelers and holiday flyers, which helps explain why these clips are spreading so fast across European social media. While there have been some modifications to how these operations are explained publicly, the underlying enforcement posture has not softened. Officials argue that anyone who has violated the terms of a visa or has an outstanding order of removal is subject to detention regardless of nationality or how long ago the violation occurred. Advocacy groups warn that this fervent enforcement atmosphere is sweeping up people whose cases are murky or years old, creating fear that is disproportionate to any actual security risk. Pedro Rios, director of a nonprofit that assists migrants, put it plainly, saying the rationale behind some of these detentions simply does not add up, and that the real driver appears to be a broader anti-immigrant climate rather than individual threat assessments. So what does this mean in practical terms if you are planning a trip to the United States? First, if you are traveling on ESTA or any visa category, make sure every document, from your passport to your return ticket to your proof of funds, is completely in order before you leave home. Second, be precise about your dates. Overstaying, even by a few days, or misunderstanding the terms of a 90-day tourist permit has been enough to trigger detention in multiple documented cases. Third, if you are a dual national, a green card holder, or someone with any prior immigration history in the U.S., even something resolved years ago, it may be worth consulting an immigration attorney before you travel, just to understand your risk. As a visa holder or frequent traveler, this situation might feel overwhelming, and that reaction is completely understandable. It remains to be seen whether these enforcement patterns will ease, tighten further, or prompt legal and diplomatic pushback from European governments. Some immigration attorneys are already advising extreme caution for anyone with even a minor irregularity in their travel history. Another case that recently went viral involved a woman from Ukraine detained at San Francisco International Airport after federal officials said she had overstayed her visa for 15 years. Bystander footage showed the arrest unfolding right in the terminal, with onlookers recording as she was placed into custody. The Department of Homeland Security later confirmed she would remain in ICE custody pending removal proceedings. A local immigration attorney summed up the broader lesson for travelers this way, urging that all immigrants, regardless of the permits they hold or the status they believe they have, should exercise real caution when moving through any U.S. airport in the current climate. Whether that caution applies equally to someone on a routine 2-week holiday from London or Copenhagen is exactly what has so many European travelers unsettled, and exactly why these clips keep spreading. It is also worth understanding how processing times and procedural changes tie into all of this. Immigration experts note that visa adjudication and entry screening have both slowed in many categories, sometimes stretching what used to be a routine review into something that can take 14 to 16 months for related family or employment-based cases. While that particular delay applies more to visa petitions than to a single airport entry, it reflects the same underlying trend, a system under strain, applying more scrutiny at every stage, from the consulate abroad to the jet bridge at arrival. Despite these challenges, officials maintain that lawful travelers with clean records have little to worry about, though critics argue that the definition of a clean record is not always applied consistently from one officer or one airport to the next. To put this in perspective, the vast majority of travelers still pass through U.S. airports without incident. But the videos going viral are a real signal that the margin for error has shrunk and that European travelers should not assume their passport alone guarantees a smooth entry. Staying informed, keeping documentation airtight, and understanding your rights at the border are now essential parts of trip planning, not just formalities. That's all we have for this bulletin. The USA State Channel provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand the United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas such as B1 and B2, work visas such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas. Thank you for visiting us today, and we'll see you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to the channel for more U.S. immigration update videos.